Well, thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon. We are thrilled that I know it is absolutely freezing in the state of New York. Many of your schools have been canceled today, so we certainly appreciate you joining, even amongst the freezing conditions. Thank goodness for virtual. We are thrilled. Today, we've got a couple folks with us. We have Lori Bergerac, who is the president of the Lori, help me with this, the
National Esports Association.
National Esports Association. Thank you so much. And joining us from California in the middle of all the craziness of the wildfires is Ruben Caputo, who is the marketing manager of ViewSonic. So thank you both very, very much for being here. And thank you to the technical support team behind Lori as well. And we will get started. Please note, everybody, we will be recording the session. A link will be sent to you, and this will be available on the website as well.
Awesome.
Recording in progress.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much for that introduction, Amy. Appreciate that. And I just want to take a moment and welcome everybody that is joining us. And it is a great pleasure to be with you all and being able to have this discussion when it comes to esports and education. So feel free, again, to just sit back and think about your questions that you may have, or perhaps if you know someone that could benefit greatly from this talking session, feel free to share with them afterwards. As mentioned earlier, this will be recorded and there'll be a follow-up with that information as well. So thank you again for the partners in NYSCATE for collaborating with us, and can't thank our presenter and our speaker, which you are all in store to meet with Miss Lori Bergerac. So if I can have a round of emoticon clapping hands in the chat window there, please welcome Miss Lori Bergerac, who will be presenting on esports and education. So Lori, I'm not sure if you have the slide up, but love to showcase a little bit of who you are, at the same time a little bit of background, if you don't mind sharing with the audience.
No problem. And thank you both for your wonderful introduction. And thank you to everybody here in New York who's freezing just like I am. So yes, I am Lori Bergerac. I am the president of the National Esports Association. We were basically established back in 2009 with the goal of basically putting esports in education, which used to sort of be an oxymoron. We inspire through play and are really working hard on the infrastructure needed to really ensure that esports is at the forefront of education, and also just helping to explain what it is and how you can actually utilize it in your classroom and beyond. So one of the things I and Ruben and I were talking about is like, what do we want to highlight? And we really like your input here on this webinar and making an interactive experience, because we're really trying to highlight how esports fosters STEM and STEAM skills and unlocking career opportunities, which, as I mentioned before, sometimes esports is considered an oxymoron. You make a mistake and that's how you actually learn and you grow. So let's go back a couple of pages before I actually had a panic attack, which nobody noticed, right?
No.
So basically, a couple of things I'm looking to highlight here in this webinar is really how esports enhances STEM skills through esports. And I always say play is the highest form of research, and Albert Einstein said that. And I want to give you guys a little bit of background. In terms of my aha moment, my son discovered Minecraft back when it was still in beta, and he was in kindergarten. And he went to kindergarten, and he also played a lot of Legos. And I was so excited. And I said, okay, let's talk about Legos and let's talk about online gaming. And everybody was like, what do you mean? You let your child play video games all day long? And I said, no, he does sleep. But my aha moment was when I went to the induction of Microsoft's game of Solitaire in the Hall of Fame. And I found out a very interesting piece of trivia. Most people think Solitaire was put on the computers to give us something to do when we're bored at our jobs. It was actually to teach us how to use the computer mouse. And I was like, that is the most brilliant marketing training tool I've ever seen. And it goes to show you, they didn't say click here to learn how to use the mouse. They just said Solitaire's on the computer. And that's really what I look at in terms of how esports really changes things for us. And I consider it like an esports movement, that it's not just about playing video games, technology integrating into esports and beyond. As one of the things, working here with ViewSonic and understanding that all those technical things are in the classrooms and beyond. We've basically taken a blackboard and we've made it a whiteboard, but making an interactive experience, because we really need to train our youth for tomorrow, right? What does the class of 2036 really need in terms of skill sets? Back when I was a child, we spent hours learning cursive writing. I'm not very good at cursive writing, just FYI. But it was an important thing. Now you're looking at how are we using typing and what are we using in terms of integrating this into the classroom and beyond. And that's one of the things that you don't think about when you're playing a video game. You're not just, placing blocks. You're learning coding. You're learning typing skills. You're learning how to actually interact online and beyond. That's why we actually talk about classroom and after school programs. What we've seen them evolve over all the years is, basically starting with some simple things like Minecraft. Minecraft is in every school in America, but it's not in every classroom, right? But I think this is the most brilliant game that was ever invented, because you literally can teach anything you want in the game of Minecraft, which we'll go over a little bit later. And it's really more than just playing the game. A lot of esports is that digital content creation, right? It's so many times when you talk to a child, what do you want to be when you grow up? You used to be a fireman or a police officer. Now it's like, I want to be a content creator. I want to be big on YouTube. I want to be big on Twitch. It's not as easy as it looks. It requires a lot of skills. And like I told you, you saw me just make a mistake live, right? You have a team behind you, right? And it's not just, I'm going to sit up here and talk to you guys for an hour. There's planning, there's writing, there's creating content, right? There's videos, there's video editing, and it goes above and beyond just the simple thing of, this is what I want to do. And we'll talk about that a little bit later also. And I really want to talk about empowering esports in education. It's such an easy thing to do, but there's multiple ways to go at it. And I get the question a lot. I want to start an esports program, but I know nothing about esports and I don't have a budget. And we always want to go back is, what's the goal of your esports program? What is it that you're looking to do with this? Are you looking to, work on such things as reading and writing and arithmetic? Very easy to incorporate in some of these games. We use the game, believe it or not, Smash Bros, to teach statistics. You can ask a child, what is their percentages of wins versus losses, and they will be able to say it to you. But you start talking statistics and you start looking at, what your graphs are or what your pie chart looks like or any of this, it seems foreign to them. But you put it in their technology also, and they're like, yeah, I know my statistics. I know my stats. And by the way, my stats are pretty good on my winning and losses on Smash Bros, just in case anybody wondered. But really what it comes down to, some of the things I've been working on basically for the 18 years I've been in this thing, is building the ecosystem in education. Again, what's it look like? And I had to go back, and Ruben and I have been talking about this for a while, to the basics, right? Retraining teachers to understand, how does this going to work, right? I don't want to lose control of my classroom. I want to gain control of my classroom. And how are we meeting the students where they're at? Because nowadays there are so many things going on in the classroom that we need to start looking at, what is it that the child is needing and how can we actually help them to elevate them in the classroom so that everybody wins? And that is one of the things I always say about esports is really training your brain how to win. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. I think that's one of the most fascinating things too, is it's also a way to get everybody included in what they're doing. We talked a little bit about ViewSonic and other companies. It's really utilizing technology to inspire and transform gaming into a landscape for STEM and STEAM learning, increasing critical thinking and making future-ready opportunities in technology and beyond for our students. And that's where I really kind of look at. We're looking at how do we get education, industry, and the private sector all on the same page. As I said, Ruben and I have been working a while on some things with NASA and even just talking to different people about what does esports in education really truly look like? And how can we actually help and train and inspire people along the way to understand what it is that we're trying to do, and then how can we all work together collectively to really create a strong sense of unity in the esports and beyond. Which kind of brings us to what we're talking about today, the concept of classroom to career. What we are looking at in terms of training our youth, right, so that they are ready to go into whatever career they want. And a lot of times people ask me, well, my child likes video games, but I really don't want them to play video games all the time. And that's one of the things we're going to go over in the next, segment of this is it's more than placing blocks in Minecraft. It's more than getting the fastest time on, Mario Kart or getting the best record in NBA 2K. It's really about creating a community and a sense of belonging. And as I mentioned before, about training your brain how to win. So let's get into it. I want to show you a little clip about a day in my life. I always say I'm the luckiest woman in the world. I have the coolest job. I get to work with inspirational students.
Esports tournaments are taking place across the world in stadiums or whether it's in schools.
To be able to compete while playing a video game, it's fun. It gives us a different type of competitive edge as an athlete.
And I actually think we're creating a movement. I'm Lori Bajorek, and I'm the president of the National Esports Association. I told you I have the coolest job on the planet Earth. I will tell you, I can walk into any classroom and become a little mini celebrity. And a lot of times people think it's like I'm coming in there to play video games. A lot of times it's just to start a conversation. And I think that's really what you're starting to see in terms of the growth of esports and education and what it is that we can do to use this tool set to make our jobs as educators easier and to gauge our youth so that they find learning fun. Because I always say learning should be organic. It should be something that you're excited about going to school at. And this is one area that I really start to see the excitement in the child and also in the teachers. We really need to start looking at the technology and starting to integrate it so it's seamless. A lot of times I'll talk with older people even in my generation, and they're scared of technology, whereas youth of today, you can give them anything, and they absorb it, and they figure it out quickly. I still have the running joke. I go into a kindergarten class, the flashlight's out on my phone, and I have to ask a 5-year-old how to turn the flashlight off, right? It's because we shouldn't be afraid of that, right? They've been born in this age. When I was a child, there was no such thing as a cell phone. These things were only on Star Trek, and they look so far in the future, we didn't think about it. The fact that we're all sitting here having a conversation virtually with Ruben in California with the wildfires that are going on there, in terms of the freezing temperatures here in Rochester, New York, where I'm from. And the other thing too, but we're here and we're having a conversation, and that still is mind-blowing to me. And when you start to see about how esports is really evolution, it's the evolution of it and where it's going and its popularity. We like to talk about, I always say this, I don't look like a gamer, right? But what is a gamer and who is a gamer? We've done polls. 92% of youth today consider themselves to be a gamer. So how can you define what a gamer looks like, right? Not all gamers, live in their basements of their parents' house eating cheese puffs and drinking Mountain Dew. Some of them do like Doritos. That's my esports joke of the day. I'm sure you're all laughing really hard right now. But that's really, truly the power of esports. It's meeting youth where they're at. And these are just a couple of things that esports enhances that we put up on this slide. And if you start thinking about it, that's pretty incredible. Talking about cognitive skills, strategic thinking, decision-making, adaptability. And I want to highlight teamwork. We'll go over something a little bit later that shows when you actually put esports in the classroom, it changes the dynamics of the room. And all of a sudden, I remember when I had to do a teamwork project, right? And I was the only one doing the work because I wanted the A, and I probably got the troublemaker in the room who didn't want to even care about it. And I'm like, doesn't matter, we're going to make it done. That also goes down to the next word, inclusion. I just said in the previous slide, 92% of youth consider themselves to be gamers. What other sport What other hobby, what other interest unites 92% of your school? Think about it. It's an incredible opportunity. And then we can talk about soft skills and social emotional learning, right? How many times have we seen a child lose it playing a video game, right? We need to really start helping them understand what is a proper way to play video games. What does it mean to de-escalate when you're getting overly excited, right? What does it mean to lose properly and win properly, right? And showing that same sense of pride when you're playing a video game that you see when you're playing a basketball game, or you just won your swimming team, right? Or you're dancing in a ballet, right? These are opportunities, as I said, to unite people, especially youth, and to teach them the art of winning, but winning gracefully. And that's not just winning the game, it's winning at the game of life, right? And it's understanding it's not how many times you fall off when you're playing, Mario Kart. I've played Rainbow Road enough, can't make around that curve. It's not about the number of times you fall. It's the number of times you get back on that track and you try again. That brings up grit and resilience. That's something that if we can teach our youth those simple skills, how well they transfer into the classroom, into the workforce. You can also talk about dexterity and eye-hand coordination, right? They use these products, right? In the military and in, I was going to say, I did a workshop with a surgeon, a brain surgeon, using joysticks to operate, right? These are amazing things that you don't think about, right? Well, he played too much Pac-Man when he was a kid. Now all of a sudden he's doing brain surgery, right? And the creation of an environment where all students have the opportunity to win, right? That's one of the things that we started to notice when we first started these programs. People who have played youth sports actually won more when they were playing esports. And it wasn't because they were better. It's because they learned how to control their emotions and saw themselves winning. That is not the case anymore. You're starting to see this parallel of that whole concept of really starting to retrain your brain. How many times when you've watched a race and all of a sudden at the end of the race, somebody trips over an imaginary line, right? That's a psychological thing. We do this all the time in our lives. We can't do that. We've trained, we're ready, we're going to do it. But as soon as that opportunity presents itself, we panic. Sort of like I did at the beginning of this seminar, right? Like I was like, I want to go in, I want to do it perfectly, and then something happens, right? And you have to learn how to adapt, and you have to learn how to move on. And that is one of the things that I see so amazing when I watch students the first time they played, NBA 2K. Didn't understand anything about it. You're learning these skills, and that's what's the beautiful thing about it. I could go on and on about the power of esports. I want to show you, before I hit this play, I want to set up a little bit of, oops, is it going? I'm going to pause it for a second. I talked about that you could teach anything you want playing video games. So my story goes as this. I was in Portland, Oregon, and I told the teachers, I had 100 teachers in front of me, and I said I could teach anything in Minecraft. And they said, really? I said, yes. I said, give me a challenge. They picked the last period on a Friday, 6th graders, oral hygiene. I was like, okay, let's do it. And this is one of the last presentations that they did. And what I want you to kind of watch is the interaction and how quickly these students are engaging. The alarm is about to go off. They're supposed to go home. And these kids are answering questions on oral hygiene in Minecraft. So I'm gonna...
Does anyone know what the yellow in the smiley face's mouth is? Tally. A lot of flags. Yeah. Does anybody know what the black spots are? Pennant. Cavities? Yes, like growing cavity and germs.
I know it's kind of like low volume, but I hope you heard it. I mean, that's what we're talking about in terms of how to engage a classroom. And honestly, I have to say, I wasn't exactly convinced that I was going to get 6th graders excited about oral hygiene, but it was incredible. And the alarm went off and they were supposed to be running out. And we had one team that didn't finish their presentation. And one of the students started to cry. And that's an incredible opportunity. And they worked in teams of 4 together. And all I did was said, listen, we're going to do this in Minecraft. You have 15 minutes. I need you to do your research and present to us oral hygiene and problems that you have. And it was incredible what they actually pulled off. And that's, as I said, what I think is so incredible about esports is that inclusion. And in that video you just watched, the one student that was kind of clapping in the background, he has an IEP and, has a difficult time sitting still in the classroom. And he was so proud of what he created and was so happy to do a presentation. And the teacher came up to me afterwards and said, he's never done that. And I said, that's great. And that kind of goes back to how we've proven that game-based learning works for neurodiverse students. And we've worked with Autism Up, kids on the spectrum, dyslexia, cerebral palsy, ADHD, and it really makes them feel part of a team as opposed to excluded. And they're really happy to share and show what it is that they've learned. This is my favorite tagline. I say it all the time. Esports is intelligence having fun. There's nothing wrong with having fun and learning at the same time. And I think sometimes in our, society, we take that for granted, that you do learn through play. You learn by having fun, and you learn by making mistakes and experiencing new things. So I want that to someday be like, the Eleanor Roosevelt or the Albert Einstein. Be like, you heard it here first, folks. This gets into the part of my job that's not so exciting, but it's really important. It's creating the infrastructure, and collaboration is key. We need to bring together government, industry, and education so that we're all on the same playing field, so that we understand what does this mean, right? That it's not just about the game, right? It's so much more than that. And there's so much that goes on behind the scene. And I mentioned earlier that we have a conversation a lot. I want to do something in esports, but I don't know what, I don't know how, and I don't have a budget. And I always say, let's start with what is the end game, right? And then let's work our way backwards. Because a lot of what you have is already in the education system. It's just a matter of getting exposure to it. And then it's about getting buy-in, right? It's about understanding that this is not just wasting time. We're really, truly educating our youth in the way that they're going to need when they go out in the real world. We do not know what technology is truly going to look like in the year 2036, right? But those are kindergartners. Those are students right now that if you give them a problem and you give them 12 years to come up with a solution, and we start really emphasizing that and integrating technology into the classroom in a way that is seamless to them, right? It starts to really change the conversation. And I had the opportunity to go to the White House last April for their You Belong in STEM initiative. And there's a bunch of 200 of us in that room, and really starting to understand, how do we make STEM and STEAM more inclusive and more available? And to me, it's a no-brainer, right? If you start with things that kids are normally naturally gravitating to, like video games, and then we start to expand on it. I mentioned how I used Smash Bros to teach statistics. We use iRacing to teach physics. And if you've ever had the opportunity to go down to New York City and go into the Microsoft store on Fifth Avenue and go to the second floor, there's a Bugatti that you can sit in and drive virtually. And it is an incredible experience. And I will say, I have yet to stay on any of the pathways on any of the indie tracks that I've ever tried. They make it look so easy when they're 5. And I think I'm a good driver. It's impossible, but I'm still going to win one day, one of those little things. So it's just one area to look at. With that said, other areas that we've actually worked at, we talked about industry. I know if you're from Rochester, New York, you probably got a little disappointed with the eclipse past April. The only day where it was completely cloudy, I had the opportunity to experience Eclipse in New York City and also with NASA. We did a collaboration that took URL and IRL and combined it together and made it more than just the video game. And we really started what I would call earlier a movement, right? Who would have thought that you could take an eclipse, a scientific phenomenon, and put it into a game and engage a youthful population in a way that nobody thought about before? And through that, it was not just about the video games. Oops. I'm going to pause this one more second, too. I want to put an intro. As I mentioned, we work with Epic Games. For all you know, Epic Games actually is who created Fortnite. But they also have a system called Unreal Engine. And it is really a platform where students can really start to learn coding and create their own games. So we partnered with them and did a game jam. And in 24 hours, we had 10 teams from NYU and other schools down in New York create their version of the Eclipse. And this is actually what Epic Games had to say about the collaboration and about Unreal Engine.
Industries. And what I think is really cool is that Unreal Engine is a game engine, right? And so many people are using it for more than just what it was intended for. There are car companies using Unreal Engine. There are advertisers using Unreal Engine. I mean, it's everywhere. And there's a space for kids, students, anyone to create using these tools.
Kids are equipped with the skills, and the know-how in terms of using these tools as long as we give them the opportunities. So we feel that, if we can access and work with educators and sort of take the intimidation away and allow them to understand that they don't have to be an expert to support students in these areas, that they can help create these great opportunities for their students. The true power in bringing these tools to educators is we feel that we're, sort of trying to nurture the next generation of creators. These are industry standard tools. These are the tools that if kids in high school or college can, leave, well equipped with using tools like Unreal Engine, Fortnite Creative, Twinmotion, Sketchfab, some of our other tools, they're ready for industry opportunities.
So it's really important for Epic to collaborate with the community because, we can't do it on our own. We need people that see that these are important things to bring to students. I would love to see Unreal Engine widely implemented in schools and just kids having the opportunity to have these tools at their disposal. So it's like, wow, why can't we say, look at this tool. You can do anything you want with this. And it can take you anywhere.
I think Steve over Epic said it so well. He can't do it on his own, right? And a lot of educators don't know that these tools are free. They're available, and the training is there, and they want to help and support. NASA even uses Unreal Engine for creating some of their programs that they're doing with astronauts. And it is an amazing tool and an amazing team at Epic Games. And even, with what we do with, companies like ViewSonic, there are so many tools that we have that are at our disposal. We just need to know about them. And then we need to know what can we do with them as a result. So with that said, you can see a couple of pictures here in terms of a couple of the games that we created. So we created some games for April 8th, 2024 in Unreal Engine and also in Minecraft. And I want to show you one more little thing. Why does this start playing at me all the time? As I mentioned, we partnered with Twitch. So Twitch is the basic platform where gamers really share their information out there. And if you see on this slide that I kind of just froze, we started a campaign called Look Up. And it was not just look up at the eclipse. It was look up from your phone. And then also, who do you look up to? And how can you inspire others to look up to you? And again, this is taking esports and virtual gaming and all those other things to another platform. We had them at Hello when we mentioned we're going to be creating games in Unreal Engine and we're going to be playing video games. But what can we do that's more? And we had astronauts come in and give presentations about what they do in their daily lives and started to really expand the conversation beyond the video game. And that's, as I said, what we do a lot of times. People will bring me in and they think, oh, she's going to be talking about a competition, or she's going to be talking about different video games, which I can and I love to. But it's more than that to me. It's really about connecting youth to technology and opportunities that exist beyond the game, so that we can take something that they're passionate about and turn it into something that is, essential to their well-being and to their success. And it goes back to that whole winning attitude. So this is what we actually presented, so you kind of get an idea what we were doing. We literally, when we were live on Twitch, NASA was on the left side and we were on the right side. And you watched the eclipse. And I have to say, I'm sorry, Rochester, your eclipse didn't show up, but mine was virtual and it was perfect. But this kind of gives you an idea of what we talk about when we talk about combining URL with IRL.
You feel that connection with space.
Oh my gosh! Look at the race rusher!
The universe is out there and it's affecting us. We are in space.
And here it comes, there's the diamond ring.
And the numbers talk for itself. We had 2 million concurrent Twitch viewers and 10 million unique viewers that watched our presentation of the eclipse. And that was all done very organically and as a result of the youth that got excited about something that they might not have known about. And through the National Esports Association, we actually worked with NASA, and we had 200,000 eclipse glasses donated to the libraries and the school districts in New York City, so that the students in New York also got to experience this on another level. But we took it one more step beyond that, and I mentioned about the concept of lookup. How many schools have an issue with phones and getting students to put them away and pay attention to what's going on? And we actually were asking students to take the pledge to look up and leave their phones behind, right? It's something, if you want to change something, we ask the youth, what do you want and how can we help and support you? And I think that's one of the things that we need to understand is they need to be part of the process and help us to understand, because as I mentioned, when I was in high school, I didn't have a cell phone. They didn't exist. And I still remember my dad, came home with the first computer, and we had those dot matrix printers, which I know I'm dating myself, but some of you out there, I hope you still know what I'm talking about. And having a home computer was a luxury. And it wasn't something that you got every day. And I still remember when we got a VCR so we could record, I hate to admit it, but it was something called Days of Our Lives. It was on at noon, and it was my dad's favorite show. And I was in school, so we'd record it and we'd watch it all together as a family. Or that the television went off at midnight. Like, these are things that used to happen. And now we have this constant entertainment at our fingertips. But we really need to capitalize on that and understand, how are we training our youth to use this information? Not literally just letting it run wild. And then how do we use it to our advantage? And for all you who don't know what Twitch is or haven't used it before, I mean, this is another engine that we can use that's just beyond watching video games. This is how we can actually meet youth where they're at and share our information. And this is just a small example of the game, one of the games that won. It's called, I think it's called Surfer. And this is the gentleman who actually created it. And this is part of our live presentation that we did. So I just want to show you a little clip of what it looked like for the viewers out there. And then you can see partly where you still see the real eclipse. So hold, please.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah, it's similar to the last game, inspired by these like endless runner type games. But spending years as an illustrator, I tend to think very visually. And so when I thought about the solar eclipse, the first thing I thought about was how you see less of the sun, obviously. Yeah. And the whole week before the game jam, I was thinking like, I just want to figure out how to use a hoverboard in a game. Like, how can I make a hoverboard game? And when I got there, I didn't really know how it was going to work out. I didn't know what the weekend was going to be. But as soon as it was pedal to the metal, I had to get an idea. And that's kind of how it was when I was working as an illustrator. It's like, you just have to have an idea. And I just like, well, what if you're like a solar?
So just a little clip of what we were doing and what some of the gamers actually developed. And I loved that Solar Surfer because it wasn't something that I would have originally thought had anything to do with an eclipse, right? And it's that creativity and that energy that gets put together to come up with something magical and something new. And as I mentioned, the planning for the eclipse was something, it took us 3 years. We started this concept and everyone's like, you want to do what? You're going to recreate an eclipse in Minecraft. And all of you do know, Minecraft's only squares, not circles. So that was a challenge to actually redo an eclipse in Minecraft. So there was a lot of things that we had to do. Then we had to get a lot of buy-in. Like, is this something that's important? How are we educating our youth? What are we using this for? To not just educate them on the eclipse and on science, but getting them to look up and to appreciate such a phenomenon that the eclipse was in a way that met them where they're at. Because a lot of people are like, it's an eclipse, big deal. It is a big deal. It's something that you don't always have the opportunity to experience, but we need to educate how to look up safely, right? What does this actually mean? What does it mean in the medieval times when this happened, when nobody told you it was about to happen? Is it the end of the world? Is it the apocalypse? These are all things that we started conversations with youth on. And then, as I said, we expanded it to the game of Minecraft as well. And through the game of Minecraft, we incorporated a book that we wrote called Look Up, which went over the phases, and then we incorporated the education from NASA into the game. So in order to get to the next level, you had to know the facts. And I'd like to think the next one. Yep, this is a little blink into what 3 years of creation built in the game of Minecraft in an educational way in collaboration with NASA. Didn't quite get to the end, but that's so many hours. And I have to tell you all, that was created by students. That was not created in Minecraft. It was 1000% created by youth working together around the country to build this game. And they did things with it that just blew my mind, like taking the book Look Up and incorporating it or putting trivia in there, making sure that it was a learning experience, not just a game. And then even through it, you had to work collaboratively to get to the end. And it was a beautiful thing to see unfold and to make it happen. And they never gave up. And that's what I think is so incredible about giving them opportunities, which we'll go over in a couple minutes with a couple other things that we've done. And then to just take it down to basic level, I know a lot of students even are struggling, and even my own hometown of Rochester, youth and reading, right? It should be something that's just a known. And so I went into one of the schools here locally and we did a presentation of Look Up. And I had the students read and I was said, maybe you don't want to do that. And I said, well, let's give them the opportunity and let's start talking about this. And I have to say, it was a beautiful experience because, again, you go in, they're like, hi, this is Lori Bajork from the National Esports Association. She plays video games. And we didn't play a video game. We read a book and we talked about the eclipse. And it was beautiful just to also hear when I asked them to tell me who they looked up to. And this is just a little clip from our presentation. And I want you also to notice how many hands went up to answer the one question, who do you look up to?
Blue shirt. Who do you look up to? Your friends? Beautiful. How about you? Your Miss? Is that your teacher? Oh, that's so sweet. Let's give it up for teachers.
That was one of my favorite moments. The number of students who actually answered they look up to their teachers. More than mothers. I was totally convinced it was going to be mothers. We did not rate high on the level. It was teachers and friends. And I was like, oh, interesting. But I think that's also a wonderful thing, And that, again, was a very spontaneous experience that these students had. And they were so excited to share that. And for us as a community to talk about that had nothing to do technically with esports, except in the book, it's all Minecraft characters. And at the end of the book, it says, hey, Mom, I'd like to go play Minecraft with my friends. And it's all about being you, right? And to give them those experiences. Another thing that we actually collaborated on was with MoMA and for National STEAM Day last year, and also with Scholastic Books. I have to say, a slight passion for Starry Night. It is, to me, one of the most brilliant works of art. And it's interesting when you start talking about it, and especially when the eclipse was happening. I saw a tie-in, and it's like, we want this theme of look up to continue. And as I mentioned, how do you combine video games with art? So we, as I said, worked with MoMA, and I gave the students a challenge to recreate Starry Night in Minecraft. And this is what the winning team came up with. They told me the number of bricks, I think it's 144,000 individually placed bricks to recreate it. And as you see from far away, pretty good interpretation, I would say. But what they actually made it was an immersive experience. So you went into their recreation of MoMA, and you actually could drop down and walk on Starry Night. And here's what they have to say. So I want you to meet the team because they were brilliant.
I'm Hussein. I'm Farhan. I'm Benny. I'm Cecil. I'm Kyle.
I'm Ashley.
This is our Starry Night.
This project was frustrating, but it was a fun kind of frustrating. I definitely want to do this again, despite all the stress that I had. Just the satisfaction of being able to do this, like I'm stressed out while building it, piece by piece. It took a long time, but the satisfaction I felt when I just zoomed down and just perfect, it's unmatched. It's immeasurable. Do not give up.
What I enjoyed about this project is that we get to work together, and I was able to gather everyone up to work on this. And another fun thing I could take away is that I can use one of my favorite games in order to prove how we can work together and prove something educational about this game. So many things you could do with Steam. You just gotta find the pet you are most suited with.
This is the first time and probably the last time I will ever paint anything in Minecraft. I'm only building houses. Please manage your time correctly.
So what this project meant to me was a chance to show the world my creativity when I go on Minecraft, because I actually enjoy building on Minecraft. I enjoy building fancy houses and stuff, so it's one of my chances. I'd say just do what your heart desires.
One thing that I really loved about this painting, making it, was really the end of it, because after having to place block by block for over 13 hours with only 6 people, and then seeing the finished product become something amazing like that, it was so good. And if somebody tells you something is not art, do not listen to them. Do not listen to them.
Oh, well, my favorite thing about this project was kind of the creativity aspect. I had never really done anything like this in Minecraft before, and I found it very fun. And also I got to use information that I got to learn last year in my AP Art History course, so it was fun to have that connection. I would say you should try to combine your interests. I do like art history, and I did get the opportunity to experience that, and getting to combine that in a way with Minecraft was very fun for me.
Peace by peace. Happy Steam Day.
I love those guys. Just watching that almost made me cry again. Their work ethic, how they collaborated, how they used Discord to combine things in after school. They took it very seriously. And, working with the Brooklyn STEAM Center, where the winning team was from, and going in and seeing how just joyful they were and proud of that. It doesn't look like that much work. That's a lot of work. And that kind of goes to say, how do you want to get your school involved? And when we talked about earlier, is what is the end goal, right? What do you want? Participating in such things as STEAM Day, in some of these challenges, those opportunities are out there. We're looking to really, help create that infrastructure so it's easier to find this information and easier to participate. And I don't know how many of you have actually heard of the Battle of the Boroughs, but it's another opportunity, specifically in New York City. A team of teachers came up with this concept that has grown enormously, and it's another one of my favorite things to go to every year, and to see it grow, and to work with Jose and his team and hear their dream too. They would love Battle of the Boroughs to become battle of the communities and battle of the schools and make it so it's all of New York State, and then from New York State to all of America to the globe. And I know they have the ambitions and dreams of what they can do, but it's like, what is Battle of the Boroughs? It is not what you think. It's a building challenge, and it's really about presenting a problem and having the students come up with their solutions in the game of Minecraft. And here's what last year's battle was. I'm going to show you another video where the mayor's office is involved. And there's this place in the Bronx. It's called Kingsbridge Armory. The Kingsbridge Armory has been vacant for 30 years, and they've tried to figure out what to do with it. So the challenge that they gave the students this year was, what would you repurpose the armory? The Kingsbridge Armory is the largest armory in the globe, and it is an entire city block of open space. And this was the challenge that the mayor gave to the students for them to come up with.
Our students to build New York City better.
We want you to build a city for everyone. A city that is safe for folks of different ages, backgrounds, and abilities. And now New York schools are partnering with Minecraft so you can build your ideas and share them.
And the 5 boroughs responded with incredible ideas. The best teams competed in live borough championships. The winners from all 5 boroughs went head-to-head on the USS Intrepid. Now we're calling students to ready themselves for a new challenge. They'll reimagine iconic New York City spaces like the Kingsbridge Armory. Partnering with the real-world designers and city officials will prepare students.
I want them to be employable.
Before entering the Armory, head to schools.nyc.gov/Minecraft for all the details.
It was another one of those things that was just incredible to see. And this starts in, they start in elementary school, so they have an elementary school competition, middle school, and high school. So when you think about this, a lot of people think esports is only high school, but we talked about STEAM and STEM and getting more students involved in that. You really have to look at where they're at starting in kindergarten and start paving the way for them. And we have these programs for youth starting in kindergarten and beyond. And as I mentioned, it's more than the game. Another thing that we came up with was, when you build something in Minecraft, how do you then transform it and start to build it in the real world? So we partnered with Lego, and we started building basically different cities in the game of Minecraft. And this is another 3-year project that our youth did. They took the Book of 3 by Lloyd Alexander, and they came up with a screenplay, and they recreated Predane in Minecraft, and then they recreated it in Legos, and they did stop motion animated film in Minecraft, Legos, and in the real world. And this is actually filmed by students in our classroom, and they did all of the stop motion animation filming. We did get a couple of really cool actors to help us out a little bit, but we did the premiere of the movie at the Battle of the Boroughs, and here is just a little trailer of what we put together over 3 years. And by the way, he's a really good Minecraft player. Crazy. Here we go.
Good book?
You are Taran, assistant pig keeper. The mighty warlord has risen.
Epic!
I'm in.
No more swords?
Freedom!
Do you think a lone warrior and one assistant pig keeper dare attack the Horned King and his warband?
I would not fear him.
That was a fun project, but I would say old-fashioned stop-motion filming with Legos and middle school and high school students. That's why it took us 3 years. But we've persevered, and when the students actually went to the premiere of their movie, dressed in their characters, and we're so proud of what they did. And that's another way of taking literature, right, a video game, and then also acting and all these other things that go into play, all around the concept of, where do you want to take this? And it kind of brings us to our last slide and almost to the end of our presentation, is like, what's next? So the president said it the other day, we're going to Mars. Well, so are we. And we're working with NASA to launch the next project, which is the Artemis launch collaboration this September. And really, it comes down to, again, what is it that we want to do and where are we going to go with this? And so this is a little tip about a game that we've already started working on, to have students launch their own rocket and then land on Mars and what would it look like, and let their imagination soar. I always end everything that I always do is like, let's change the world. And I get a little emotional about that because we can. And it's really about working with youth and understanding what it is that their dream is and helping them to achieve that dream. And I said at the beginning, I'm going to say it now. I do have the coolest job on the planet Earth. Thank you for your time. I'd be love to listen to questions or answers. And I'm going to give you the last slide. This is how you can connect with us. So let's not make this the last conversation. You know, you have us at your fingertips. You have ViewSonic. You have the National Esports Association. Connect with us and let's talk about what's next. Thank you.
Amazing, truly. Thank you so much. Lori, what you just shared with us and the community. I know, folks, there were some questions. Hopefully we answered them through the chat. You saw Lori's QR code. Feel free to scan them. This deck is designed for you all to reference. And again, we don't want this to be the last conversation piece. And again, you know, from the ViewSonic side, we're just here to support movers and shakers like Lori. And guess what? It takes community. It takes you all. Thank you for sharing a little bit about yourselves in the chat and for pinging us directly. We can't thank you enough because it takes, you know, a village to do this. And more importantly, we're constantly trying to win our students' engagement, their hearts, their minds. And, you know, if we're not integrating technology sooner rather than later, then we're really setting them behind, right, when it comes to the career workplace environment. So thank you so much. And I want to toss this over to Amy. Thank you again for having us as well in this fashion. So appreciate all the work that everyone's doing. Thank you.
Absolutely. Ruben, thank you so much. And thank you to ViewSonic for your role in this. Lori, I cannot say enough. And your advocacy, your passion comes through with flying colors. And I think that was demonstrated by everybody that joined on the beginning, stayed the entire session today. And we have many more that will be reviewing the recording. So thank you very much. I hope you will not be a stranger to NYSCATE. Ruben, we look forward to working with you as well. And for everybody who took their afternoon to join us today, thank you so very much. And please look out for the recording. And we look forward to seeing you on another NYSCATE webinar.